Testing. Hello. I'm gonna hope it's working. So I noticed recently that not a lot of people that don't play medical a lot just don't know medical, um, like at all. And I wanted to at least try to help with that. This is also a little tutorial for just the brute damages because it's often in the middle of combat that people outside of medical have to try to step in and help um, if they want to. But this can also serve as a little tutorial for newer medical players if you want to try med um, and you're just overwhelmed by it. But I only have it set up to do the brute damages currently. I'll probably do another video on the other ones. Um, but so to start, this is your health analyzer. If you go up to someone and you scan them, you're gonna see this information. You're gonna see that they are alive or dead or crit. I think it also says critical if someone's crit. You're gonna see their temperature, which matters in the case of if you're using cryo, but I'm not using cryo in this because I'm just trying to show you the very basics. Well, not even just the basics, more than that. You're gonna see their blood level, which should be at 100%. If it's not at 100%, you got a problem, which I'll get to later. And their total amount of damage, which if they have multiple kinds of damage, it's all gonna add up. That's that total number that you're seeing. Currently, this dude has 0. But if you see this, the light is red. It means there's someone in there. See how they have a bunch of different damages? And the total is all of them combined. The dropped blood level as well, and dead. Active up here means that you are close enough, and this is current information. If I walk away, and it goes away, then that's not current information. But if you are medical personnel, you're going to have this installed in your PDA the moment you spawn in, which allows you to scan them without the analyzer. So it says active. If you walk away, it says inactive. It also says out of range, which means this is no longer updating as they are healing or getting worse. This is not current information that you can go off of. So you have to be close enough to them to be able to see the active and see what is currently going on. So you can also put your PDA back in your pocket and still have this up, but that does not compare to the health analyzer, where if I try to put it in a pocket, it disappears. Or if I set it down, it disappears. Meanwhile, the PDA, I think if I set it down, it stays up. Yeah. And I can post it in my backpack and it stays up as well. So that's just a little bit of a perk from the PDA to the health analyzer. You're also going to want this if you are medical personnel. There's no, like, it's not required. You can heal someone effectively without it, but it is useful. You can get it from these. If you don't have access, there should be someone around you that can. If there isn't, I'm going to assume if you're not medical personnel and you are in there in the midst of some shit going on and you need access, hack your way into it if you know how. Just take this off with the screwdriver, use wire cutters. Was it already open? It was already open. Use wire cutters and find access. So just cut that and you'll have access to it as if you were medical. But I'm going to leave that guy in there just for now. A thing to note about dead people, like I'll get all of it later on, like the full healing process and whatever. I'll get it to it later. If they are rotted, throw them in here, because that will stop the rotting process. These body bags, if it'll click, okay, and stasis beds only slow down the rotting process. So you have to throw them in the morgue if they are actively rotting, in order to give time for the chemist to make the proper chems to get them back, which that's a whole nother complicated thing, and that's not really for now. So yeah. So none of these currently have any damage, as you can see from the bar above their head. There are 3 different kinds of brute damage. There's slash, which looks like that, and it will tell you slash in here. It'll also tell you patient has open wounds, which means you gotta patch them up. They gotta stop bleeding, or else they're gonna continue bleeding. There's a couple ways to do this. You can either shove a bunch of blood in them, which will stop it. It kind of overrides it. It's weird. I don't really know how it works. Or you can use gauze. Wait, where did my... There it is. Or use gauze, which should stop it. Gauze treats only slash specifically. It treats the other... They're healing themselves right now, but I'll get to that anyway. So gauze treats slash specifically the best. It treats other kinds of brute damage just a little bit less effectively than a regular bruise pack. So a bruise pack, well, that's inactive. I can't go off that. So a bruise pack heals all kind of brute damage with heals five of all kind of brute damage with each pack. So now there's 9. There's usually 10 in a stack, but that's what happens. Blood level, it will go up on its own, just very slowly, and it's really annoying for the player because it's very disorienting and dizzy, and it makes me sick. I hate it. So even though it heals itself, I am that person that's gonna give them just a smidge of saline, because above 50%, well, they don't have any. Smack. Thank you. There we go. So, above 50% blood level is when saline will work. Saline just ups their blood level. That's all it does. And in turn helps with the blood loss damage type, but not as much as it does just the basic blood level. So you're seeing now that it's not healing itself. It will if it's below, I think, 15 damage, but right now it's not. So I realized I didn't explain syringes. So if most chemicals have an OD limit, which means you cannot give them that number or higher. I'll demonstrate this with lace, which is 4 slash damage. But if you don't know how much to give, 5 units is your safest bet. I don't know the keybind to change the transfer amount, so I just right-click it and then set transfer amount to 5U. If you don't do this, it's going to do 15, which is the default, which is above a lot of OD limits. So always change it to 5 or 10, but 5 is usually your safest bet. So this is lace. You're going to see chems labeled usually something like this. You're going to see the name, how it helps, and its OD limit, which again means you cannot give it that number or higher. So I can give this person 2 10 units or 2 syringes without having to worry. But with a syringe, you cannot go below 5 units in the transfer amount, so I usually treat something that has a 10 to 15 OD limit as a 10 OD limit just to be safe. Um, so I'm not sure it says it in the guidebook. Yeah, you can go here if you need help, but in the guidebook, it says 0.25 units per second. Okay, so that's the metabolizing rate, I believe. And it modifies health by 2 slash, so it heals 2 slash, and it deals this amount of heat. So, and it also deals this cold when there's at least 12U. So that's considered its OD limit. In order to change from draw to inject, just press E. Always have their thing up, just to be safe, just to make sure everything's working the way it should. Give them 5, and wait a second. Gonna see some heat come up, but that's okay. We can heal that in a second with just some ointment. Okay, so 5 units was enough to heal all slash. Now, we can heal this heat. I don't have the chemical prepared for it, which is either Derm or Pyra, depending on what you have. So I'm just going to use ointment, which works the same as bruise packs, just for burn damage. So I'm just going to use a little bit to get them all the way up to 100% and 0 damage. So this guy's all healed. I'm just going to stick him back up here. Next thing. Blunt damage. I'm going to use this guy for that. You can see it goes down, which means he's a little hurt. So I'm going to stick him on a bed. Scan him. Same procedure as last time. You're going to stop the bleeding. I'm just using a blood pack to not waste any saline. Which puts them back at 100 again. And now you see that they have blunt damage. So blunt damage is different than slash, obviously. Blunt basically means that something whacked you really hard. Slash means that something cut you. So the way that you deal with this is bruising. Bruising helps blunt damage, and its OD limit is 10.5. So like I said before, if it's anywhere between 10 to 15, 2 uses of the syringe, obviously 5 units each, is your safest bet. Stay there. So I'm going to use bruising on him. Well, first I'm going to make sure that's active. And you can see it's going to start healing. See? Dude's all better. You can also, this is also a good time to mention, he's totally catatonic, which means if this text is purple here and you see the little Z's, that means they cannot return to their body, and you might as well just morgue them because they're just a flesh bag. But that's besides the point. Anyway, again, I'm just gonna stick them up here. And finally, pierce damage. Pierce is exactly what it means. Something pierced you. Gonna stick him on a bed again. So, same thing as before. You're also going to see that he has some blood loss here, which is another good lesson. Even though it's going to slowly heal itself, but, I'm using that too much. So, Punked. Punk helps pierce, and it has an OD limit of 12. It used to have an OD limit of 11, now it's 12. I don't know why that one why that one unit makes a difference, but apparently it does. So, I'm just going to use 5, inject. Now you're going to see this blood loss here. Oh yeah, Pierce gives radiation damage, but we're going to ignore that for this lesson, because that's a whole nother topic. But blood loss also typically, well, air loss also typically comes with any kind of brute damage, so I'm gonna include that in here. But as you can see, the Punk did away with all of the brute damage. So, blood loss. This is happening because they have less than 100% blood. I honestly think blood loss starts happening at less than 95-ish. I don't think it starts happening at exactly less than 100. But, it's currently going up. But this chemical can be used to combat that. Dex plus, air loss. Make sure it's Dex plus and not just Dex. Which helps with air loss and has a pretty high OD limit of 25. So this... Boop. And then you can watch it do its magic. This alone, however, will not heal blood level, because blood level and air loss are two different things. So you do need saline or blood packs to combat that. I also realized I didn't update the thing, but I was in the middle of injecting. Yep, and as you can see, this going up eliminates the blood loss. So you can just use saline, but if you want to be extra safe, you can use both Dex and saline, or Dex and blood packs. Now, before we get to the dead guy, I'm gonna give this guy every kind of damage. Okay, so he's not crit yet, which is what I wanted. I didn't want him to literally die on me, because that's what this guy is for. So, I'm going to examine. I'm going to stop bleeding. Okay. So, a very, 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 very important thing that I should have said at the beginning, but do not mix any brute chemicals. None of them. Because if you mix them, it will start tearing the patient up from the inside out. That is a bad thing. It creates resorium, or resorium, however you pronounce it. It makes that, and it literally tears you up from the inside out. You don't want that. So, if they have multiple kinds, there is this magical chemical called Bic. Bicardine, I think is the full name. So, Bic helps with all kinds of brutes, and its OD limit is 15. So, if they have multiple kinds, you want to use Bic. Most chemists will put on the brute chemical labels to not mix them, but not all chemists do. So it is an important thing to remember and not rely on having to see it everywhere. And if you somehow manage to mix them, mistakes happen. It's okay. It can be fixed pretty easily, but you just don't want it to happen. So, in order to avoid it, never mix them. Now I'm gonna heal. I'll show you that it does both. You're gonna see this start to go up, which means you're gonna see this start to slowly go down. It happens at a very slow rate, which is why I like to do both, just so they can be, you know, in and out. I don't have to stall them any longer. I hit the wrong button. And you can see the numbers start to go down. So, that is a live patience. Now, we want to deal with the dead. So I'm going to get this guy out. See how it says his corpse still looks fresh? That means he hasn't rotted any. Which, in the time it took me to do all of that, he should have rotted almost, if not completely. So, when a dead person comes in, you want to stick them on this bed. The glow-up bed. Or stasis bed. Because it slows down the rotting rate. So you don't want to use those beds up on people that aren't dead, because people that are dead need it more. So, I'm going to examine him. 100 damage puts you to crit. 200 damage, you are dead. This guy has 210. Since 200 damage means you are dead, in order to revive someone, they need to have less than 200 damage. Often less than around 195, 190, because the defibrillator also gives a little bit of shock damage. So, this guy is above 200. I need to get him below 200. You might think, oh, chemicals? No. Chemicals do not work on the dead, unless they are in cryo, but that's another can of worms. So we're gonna stick with just this now. I need to get him below 200, and I can't do it with chems. This is when topicals are really important. So, he has overall a bunch of brute, so I'm just going to use bruise packs instead of healing just one kind of damage. Make sure it's active, so that you can see this go down in real time. See how it reaches 195? I'm going to go just a little bit lower, just to be safe. You need 2 hands to hold a defibrillator, turn it on, and zap him. Now make sure to turn it off, otherwise the battery will drain. Now, it's important to act quickly. I'm going to use some blood packs to get his blood back up. Because if I don't, they will just continue to suffocate. Now that they are alive, you can put them over on this bed, which is usually done immediately, but I forgot. Take some saline. Make sure this is active again. Now you can use chems. So, I'm going to use 10 Bic, because it is a very high number, and I'm just being safe here. They have air loss, asphyxiation, which means I'm going to use Dex Plus for air loss. No, I don't think. I'm honestly not. Okay, it does. So, ointment does heal shock. There's one burn that it doesn't heal. I don't remember which. I think it's caustic, actually. see this number start to go down. And this one as well. And they are slowly, ever so slowly healing. Ever so slowly. Now, I believe the Bic is out of their system. And enough out of their system to use the pump. If it's not, I can just show you very quickly. It's easy. Very easy to fix that mistake. Nope, it was out of the system. So, Punked is taking down the Pierce. And see, since their blood level is still not up, they are taking on more. Now, obviously, I'm not a perfect medical player. I've been playing medical for a solid 2 years now, but I'm usually on the chemist side, not the actual doctor side. So I'm doing what I know how to do, which is, I know the very basics, but even the basics help people, so I'm trying. Give them some dex. Now they're out of crit, which means they're gonna stop gasping, which means they're gonna stop suffocating. I I swear to God. Okay, they're gasping because they're suffocating. They're not suffocating because they're gasping. I had it backwards. Or maybe they're doing both. I don't know. Am I out of Bic? No. I almost was. I think you get the gist now. Just slowly deal with what you can while you can. If there are no chemicals, there's always the topicals. And topicals can be remade, other than blood packs. I don't think you can remake blood packs. But you can make bruise packs and ointment and gauze. And they're fairly easy and cheap to make. So you don't have to worry about always having chems out, and you don't have to worry about using a bunch of topicals because you can always get them back. There are some CMOs that do get a bit heated about that. And it is important that in game you should listen to your CMO. But things don't have to run that way. So you kind of get the gist now. I'm just gonna leave him there. I'm gonna show you where these usually are. These defibrillators can be found inside this little wall closet. Close. Thank you. They can be found in here. If the battery somehow goes dead, alt-click it, which takes out the battery, and I don't think there is one in here, but there's usually a cell charger that you can throw that onto in-game. So, yeah, that's my little brute. Oh wait, I forgot. So if you ever need to restock this, open it with the screwdriver, shove in the restock, close it, and you can see it restocked. So, yeah, that's my little tutorial for at least the very basics of Brute, because that is the most common that people have in the midst of a bunch of chaos. And in the midst of a bunch of chaos, a lot of people that aren't medical try to help, or they can't help because they don't know how, and this is me trying to help that. So, yeah.